What is going on, you guys? Petplatypus here, and today I'm going to be doing a discussion about the Toriko series and the quality of the writing as of late. My first discussion, I believe, about a series in particular, not just anime and manga in general. And I want to talk about this, this is like right before we get to the aftermath, excuse me, this is right before we get to the aftermath of the Jiro versus Neo chapter. So I really wanted to get this out. It's not a favorable video in terms of the writing of Toriko, but it's not going to be, I'm not going to shit on the series or anything. I still think it's a good series, a great series even. But as of lately, I want to say like ever since the Another arc flashback, the preparation for Another, that flashback going back into the present, up into the current chapters, has been pretty problematic to me. I've mentioned I was going to make this video in a comment last night, or early this morning, because it was like midnight for me, and one of my subscribers was like, why not just, since the time skip, I don't really have an issue with the Air or the Pair arcs. Those rhyme and they were back to back, that's fucking weird, but I don't really have a problem with those two arcs. They were cool, they had a lot of hype, they were badass. I'd probably have to reread them if I really wanted to discuss them here and be fair to them. So yeah, they were cool. My only real issues that I can remember off the top of my head with those arcs were that, like, I didn't really like, well, Air I don't remember enough of currently. The Bambina arc, I didn't like the Nimbus shit cloud. That was really, really stupid. I know, like, a fan probably submitted that, but that was really stupid. But that's like a superficial, subjective thing. As far as the arcs in general go, I didn't really have a problem with them at all. Yeah, Bambina's arc is kind of weird, but fuck it, I thought it was funny and it was unique. A lot of hype, a lot of badass shit going on, infinite spiked punches and shit. It was all cool. After that, though, we start the Another arc, and this starts off good, after all that crazy shit, with those two arcs, fucking snorting and blowing half of Toriko's body away and shit. After all that craziness, this one's kind of chill, it's kind of down to earth, they're gonna just cook. It's a cooking competition. You're thinking, okay, this will be pretty cool. They have this other little side plot going about rescuing these people that are, like with the masks and the soul switching and sacrificing people to create, the ingredients and all that shit. They set that up. But then, what Mitsutoshi does, he even gets the competition going. It's nice and detailed, it's well paced. And then we get Yuta, and it's like I cared about Yuta for a split second, and that was cool. And then, nope, we're gonna cut away to all this other badass shit. And that's cool. I mean, it was unexpected that he cut over to, like, Midora attacking the Neo base, and the demon gourmet cell fucking Neo awakening, and all that shit. And did he set up Toriko, Starjin, and Genis? I think he did. I think. And it's cool, but it's like, what's going on with the cooking festival. So we cut over to all this stuff, and then when it finally cuts back to Blue Grill, Komatsu finished prepping Another, and everyone's done. And it's kind of like, okay, so we know everyone's going to be friends by the end of this arc, so I don't know, it's just, they flash back, and this is like some of the most convoluted, like I felt like I was reading Hunter x Hunter and not in a good way. As some of you guys may know from my recent Hunter x Hunter video, I'm not a fan of Togashi's convoluted writing. Now here, it's a little bit more justified because, see, the problem with Togashi, and I can't believe I'm shitting on Hunter x Hunter right now in this video, but I feel like a lot of the shit in Hunter x Hunter that when I'm reading it, I read like an entire fucking Kurapika monologue, like an entire wall of text, and I can sum up what he just said or thought in like 5 sentences, literally, but then it's like written out for like 20, it's like a fucking essay. It's like a bunch of paragraphs when it could just be like 5 sentences. So it's like Togashi likes to just elongate the dialogue and make it like way more cluttered than it needs to be. This was just genuinely convoluted with explaining back channels and the different time zones, and oh, sometimes they have this time manipulation and sometimes they have that time zone. And then explaining that it's like, oh, but before we prepare Another, we have to do this thing. But before we do that thing, we have to do this thing. And to do that thing, we got to do this other thing. It was really convoluted. It was kind of boring, but not too boring, because we got information about the God ingredient and a couple other things. But overall, it was a little more cluttered than it needed to be, a little more confusing than it needed to be, at least for me personally. upon rereading it, I could probably, really understand what's going on, but I'm talking like upon the first read. So we have all that, and they prepare another, and I'm like, okay, passable arc, it's pretty good, another gets prepared, it was a cool way of doing it, all that stuff's fine. But towards the wrap-up of the arc, you start to notice shit. Like, you start to notice, like, rushed characterization for, what's his name? The dude who ended up being the vessel for Dawn Slime, like, started with an A, and I believe he was the one with, like, the girlfriend who was, like, waiting for him, and, like, it's, like, really rushed backstory, like, that came out of nowhere. The other one having, like, a crush on Milk or whatever, like, if you guys even remember that, if that even... Did I imagine that it was so brief? Like, a lot of these dudes just had really rushed characterization, really rushed backstories and, like, wrap-ups to their characters. And, yeah, that was questionable writing. You know, if we had focused on the tournament more, and, like, the competition, we could have gotten this more naturally and more flowing, but instead we got it really kind of just chopped up and put at the end. So that's a little questionable. But after that, oh my goodness... The worst fears realized, Zebra, Coco, Sunny, all skipped. All their shit was skipped. We just get it explained to us what the environments were like and what the ingredients were like, and that's it. And that's, no, Mitsutoshi. Zebra's group is one thing, though it should not have been skipped. You could almost understand. Coco and Sunny, those were their goals, okay? Those were the characters' goals from the beginning of the story. You can't skip that. That's awful. Like, that's just terrible. You can't skip those things. So, to me, that was a huge letdown and a huge problem. And it really felt rushed. And, maybe Shonen Jump is rushing Toriko to end soon. I don't know. If they are, I've already said before, Mitsutoshi should have reprioritized what he was writing in a much better way than he did. You could have easily done those 3 arcs, probably 10 chapters each, which I know that adds up to like 30 chapters, but you could have cut down on some of the another stuff, explained some of that back channel, and like, I'm forgetting the other zone names, but I keep remembering back channel, and like the food world, whatever the fuck. You could have explained that stuff in those individual arcs, spread it out, made it more flowing, but, all that shit happens. Then and there's also the Ichiro storyline that went nowhere about bringing him back to life. Like, everything was so prepped, and then it just didn't happen, so it felt pointless. But we have Dawn Slime, and he fights Neo. I'm forgetting a few details here and there. I know Toriko adds that fish to his full course thing, and the other full courses start to get completed and everything. Then we have Neo versus Dawn Slime. This was good. This was well done. This was good writing. All that was fine. The sacrifice, showing that fucking Neo is not to be fucked with, that he's super, super fucking strong. Then we cut back to Jiro, and once again, greatness. Jiro is being a fucking phenomenal badass. And we're still getting little things about the plot filled in. We actually get backstory for Neo. All that stuff's good. However, what happened with Jiro recently, I felt was cheap. Now, granted, I do like Jiro, so there is a little bit of bias there, but at the same time, we saw how strong he was when he beat Dawn Slime. We saw how strong Neo was, so we didn't need another display of strength against Jiro. There's no reason Jiro needed to be killed in order to fucking show... The only reason I can think of that this happened was to just make you dislike Neo more than you already did. And I suppose it works in that regard. But at the same time, the death does feel cheap. It's like he didn't even beat Jiro with like his strength. He was like, oh, let me just press your self-destruct button because you just happen to have damage knocking from like your entire lifetime, which, really, Jiro? Like, you have just like an Achilles heel that someone could easily... I mean, I guess reaching into your mouth is not exactly the easiest thing to do since you're fucking Jiro, the rampaging beast, but still, it's like, I don't know, it just feels cheap that he just had all of it still in him. And that, just press one self-destruct button on Jiro and he's dead. It feels cheap. And it really doesn't feel like a proper send-off for the character. And again, maybe that's to make you dislike Neo more. Because I do hate him more and I do want to see him get killed. But I don't know, the death felt cheap. It felt unnecessary. If it was supposed to be another display of Neo's power, I don't think it was that good of a job of displaying it. because he ate a supernova, okay? That beats the Grand Knocking. I'm sorry, it just does. So eating the Grand Knocking does not trump the supernova. So it just feels cheap, you know? And like, but you know, you can forgive that if it's just to make us hate Neo. Okay, fine. I don't think it was necessary. Like I said, once again, I think it was a cheap death. But regardless of all that, the skipping of the main goals being achieved, the skipping of those arcs in general, the cluttered writing in the Another arc, the rushed characterization and like wrap-ups for the 10 shells, just a lot of this stuff recently has been very, very strangely written, very questionably written, and I don't know if the series is going to end, you know, soon. I mean, I'm not thinking like, well, we're in what, April? It could end this year. I don't know though. You know, if it doesn't end, Mitsutoshi has like literally no excuse. I mean, I already don't consider it an excuse that he has to get rushed to end it, because he could theoretically have planned this out better in the event that his shit gets canceled or his shit has to get fast-tracked to be, you know, finished within a certain time frame. He could have reprioritized it. He could have focused on Coco, Sunny, and Zebra and their plots, sidelined Another, or at least had Another still be there, but have all of it happening simultaneously, intercut between them, what have you. But he didn't. So I already don't consider that a great excuse, but at least there's some excuse there. If the Toriko series is not ending soon, and for some reason we're just getting this faster pacing and this skipped events, and like this poorly done wrap-up for character, why, Mitsutoshi? Like, that just seems really dumb and really questionable about your writing. Like, if you're just, I don't know, it's weird to me. I'm not going to say he's becoming a bad writer or anything like that. I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but it does seem questionable, especially if the series is not ending soon. Personally, I think it is, with Sunny, Coco, and Zebra. Sunny being finished, and Coco and Zebra being very close to being finished with their full courses. Same thing with Toriko. Because we already know what his fucking main course is going to be. It's his meat dish we still need to see. So his is pretty much one away from being done. So yeah, I don't know. If their full courses are finished, I don't see the reason to go to space and make like, what, a second full course? Like, I don't know. So yeah, I think the series is going to end soon. But I don't know. The writing as of lately has been less than ideal, for sure. But it hasn't been absolutely awful. It's nowhere near a bad series. I wouldn't even say it's bad writing outside of, like, skipping the main goals. That was definitely bad. And a couple other things here were definitely shaky, but I don't know. I just hope the Toriko series can really, because it's been bringing itself back ever since we had, like, Dawn Slime versus Neo and everything. And, like, this, even though I think the Jiro thing is, you know, cheap, it's not awful. So I think that it's building itself back up after that weird, rushed, rough patch, but we'll have to see what happens. But anyways, what do you guys think of the writing of Toriko recently? You know, from where I said, like, the Another arc, up until, like, the most recent chapters. What are you guys' thoughts on the writing quality? You guys can tell me in the comment section below. Follow me on Instagram or add me on PSN. I'm petplatypus on both. Also, give this video a thumbs up, share it on social media. Both of those would help me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already, if you like what you've seen here. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching.